Now let's look at what ICH GCP has to say about IB. So they say that IB should contain a title page. This is in continuation with the first part of the video about IB. So in the title page, what they are saying, they should provide the sponsor's name. First thing is sponsor name, then the identity of each investigational product. Identity of each investigational product. It could be the research number, chemical or approved generic name and trade name where legally permissible and desired by the sponsor. And thirdly, the release date. So what all? Sponsor name, identity of each investigation product and release date. It is also suggested that an edition number and a reference to the number and the date of the edition if supersedes be provided. So they also give us the suggestion to provide them with the edition number. Okay, so you can mark it as 4th and a reference to the number and the date of edition it supersedes. And they said that an example is given in the appendix 1. So this is the appendix 1. They have given the example. So this is the title page. They have given the prototype. So sponsor's name. Suppose my sponsor name is XYZ. Okay. Then product. My product is so and so pharmaceutical product under investigation. Then research number. Whatever research number is provided, you're going to write here. Then names. Name can be the chemical, generic name if approved, or trade name if legally permissible and desired by the sponsor. So if the sponsor desired, then you can write. Then edition number. This is first edition number or second edition number. And a release date like 12, 10, 23. And replaces previous edition number, whatever is the previous edition number. Suppose previous was 0 or nil or whatever the date was. So this is, you can take a screenshot. You can also find this in ICH guideline. Here it is written, guideline for good clinical practices E6R2. Then confidentiality statement. The sponsor may wish to include a statement instructing the investigator or recipients to treat IB as a confidential document for the sole information and use of the investigators team and IRB and ICs. So you can, it is up to the sponsor that he or she can wish or may wish to include a statement which states that treat this IB as confidential document and use only for the investigator team or IRB or IEC, that is Institutional Review Board or this ethics committee. Then contents of the investigator brochure. What all contents would be there? This is included in section 7.3. So what all contents investigator brochure includes? The IB should contain following section, each with literature references where appropriate. So first one is table of contents. Table of contents in general terms is index. An example of table of content is given in appendix 2. So this is the appendix 2. This is the table of contents of investigators brochure. An example. First is the title page, confidentiality statement optional, signature page optional. Then this is the table of contents. Then I got summary, introduction, physical, chemical and pharmaceutical property and formulation. So let's look at it logically. Firstly we said the table of contents aa gaya, chalo theek hai, ye to aana hi tha. Then we are saying summary. So we are providing a form of summary before in the IB, before the, like in the beginning itself, not at the end. And after that summary comes introduction, which is quite obvious that you would obviously introduce it. Then let's start with the non-clinical part. That is, we are talking here about the pharmaceutical product itself, कि उसकी physical properties क्या है, chemical properties क्या है, other pharmaceutical properties क्या है, and related to formulation. Then I got non-clinical studies. Okay, non-clinical studies, non-clinical pharmacology. So non-clinical studies meaning what? Pharmacology, pharmacokinetics and product metabolism in animals. So whatever pharmacokinetics or product metabolism you studied in animals would come here. And then toxicology. So after pharmacokinetics and product metabolism in animals, the preclinical trials you would have studied it, comes toxicology. Then what are the effects in humans? pharmacokinetic and product metabolism in humans. So next is safety, efficacy, and marketing experience, summary of data and guidance. Summary of data and guidance for the investigator. So this is the part that we studied here, that an IB contains a summary of data and guidance for the investigator section, of which the overall aim is to provide the investigator with a clear understanding of the possible risks and adverse reaction of the specific test, observations and precautions that may be needed for a clinical trial, and it is based on what all available physical, chemical, pharmaceutical, pharmacological, toxicological and clinical information on the investigational product. So that is what is written here. See, physical, chemical, pharmaceutical, pharmacological, toxicological, pharmacokinetics, product metabolism, all this data accounts for the safety and efficacy, including the safety and efficacy. All this is written, a summary is written in the summary of data and guidance for the investigator. So this is what we were talking about earlier. So this is overall the appendix for given in ICH. You can find here ICH GCP E6 R2 guideline, and it talks about what is all there in the table of contents. Now we'll look at it individually. So first we are going to start with the summary part of it. What does summaries has? So summary is a brief summary, preferably not exceeding 2 pages. So it should not exceed 2 pages. Should be given highlighting the significant physical, chemical, pharmaceutical, pharmacological, toxicological, pharmacokinetic, metabolic, clinical information available that is relevant to the stage of clinical development of the investigational product. So what all they are talking about: significant physical, chemical, pharmaceutical, pharmacological, toxicological, pharmacokinetic, metabolic and clinical. Whatever is written here in the table of content, physical, chemical, pharmaceutical, pharmacological, clinical, toxicological, उन सबका summary not exceeding more than 2 pages should be given, and there all these things should be highlighted. Next comes is the introduction. So a brief introductory statement should be provided that contains the chemical name. So first is the chemical name, generic and trade names when approved. So contains the chemical name of the investigational product, all the active ingredients of the product, that is API. Okay, the investigational product, pharmacological class, which class does it belongs to, and its expected position within the class, example advantages, the rationale, the justification, the logic for performing the research with the investigational product. Why actually are you performing that particular research with that particular investigational product only, and the anticipated prophylactic, therapeutic or diagnostic indication. So what is the therapeutic indication that particular investigational product has is written in the introductory part. Finally, the introductory statement should provide the general approach to be followed in evaluating the investigational product. Moving on, next is physical, chemical and pharmaceutical properties and formulation. So a description should be provided. A description should be provided of the investigational product substance, including the chemical and structural formula. A brief summary should be given of the relevant physical, chemical and pharmaceutical properties. To permit appropriate safety measures to be taken in the course of the trial, a description of the formulation to be used, including excipients, should be provided and justified if clinically relevant, because sometimes maybe that your API might not be the sole reason for a safety concern. The excipients used, it can be the colorant used, or it can be the taste masker used, or it can be the binder or any kind of additive or excipient that is used, could also cause safety concerns. So to permit appropriate safety measures to be taken, some might be allergic to certain kind of excipients. So they ask for the formulation details as well, which includes excipients, and it should be justified clinically. If it's clinically relevant, then what all is used should also be justified. It's not mandatory, but if it's clinically relevant. Instruction for the storage and handling of the dosage form should also be given. Any structural similarities to other known compounds should be mentioned. So you need to mention the instruction for storage and handling, because ऐसा हो सकता है कि जो investigator है at the time of clinical trials, maybe your trial might have been successful, but because it was not stored appropriately or handled appropriately, the clinical trial got affected. Many a times it happens that the temperature range is not maintained. So then it becomes a matter of concern. Also, they said that if there is a structurally similar compound if there is any structural similarity to any other known compounds, that is also should be mentioned as an information for the investigator. Then non-clinical studies. What are they talking about? Non-clinical studies. The results of all relevant non-clinical, that is pharmacology, toxicology, pharmacokinetic, and investigational product metabolism studies. So what all they talked about here? Non-clinical studies में all the relevant non-clinical pharmacology. Non-clinical means something that is not done on humans. Pharmacology, toxicology, pharmacokinetics, and investigational product का metabolism studies. How it is metabolized in the body, and obviously these trials are done on anyone except humans because it's non-clinical. So obviously we're talking about animal trials here. Should be provided in the summary form. Okay, you must provide it in a summary form. This summary should address methodology used, the results, and a discussion of the relevance of the findings to the investigated therapeutic, possible unfavorable and unintended effects in humans. So they said that not only do you have to discuss just the results of it, you have to discuss and address in a summary form what methodology was used in obtaining those results, obviously the result, and the discussion of whatever relevance finding you think is related to the investigational therapeutic effect, and based on that what you think would be the possible unfavorable या फिर unintended effect in human. They're talking about side effects. So the information provided may include the following as appropriate if known or available: the nature and frequency of the pharmacological and toxicological effect, कि किस nature का pharmacology या toxicological effect होगा और क्या frequency होगी उसकी. The severity and intensity of that pharmacological or toxic effect, what is the severity of the or the intensity of that effect. Then time to onset of effects, that they observe that after 2 hours of administrating that particular drug, they observed rash or they observed some other kind of side effect. So time of onset of effect, reversibility of effect, however when administered with this particular drug or did this remedial action, it was reversed, the effect was reversed. Duration of effect, so although it started after 2 hours but it prolonged for it was for half an hour, that was there, half an hour the reaction was there, so or for 15 minutes the headache was persistent. Then dose response, कि मैंने डोज बढ़ाया या घटाया, उसका क्या रिस्पॉन्स रहा. On what species tested, number and gender of animals in each group, unit dose, what unit dose was taken, dose interval, route of administration, duration of dosing, information on systemic distribution, very important, duration of post exposure follow-ups also important, results including the following aspects. So these are the results that are included, it's mentioned here कि results including following aspects, क्या aspects पे, ये aspects पे. So tabular format listing should be used wherever possible to enhance the clarity of the presentation. So here they are talking about visual presentation, they said, and they expect from us that we give them tabular format or listings to enhance the clarity wherever possible. The following sections should discuss the most important findings from the study. Only the most important findings from the study, including the dose response of the observed effects, the relevance to humans, कि उसका humans पे क्या impact पड़ेगा, and any aspects to be studied in humans. और क्योंकि ये study हमें non clinical में ऐसे दिखी, तो हमें क्या क्या टेस्ट और बढ़ाने या घटाने चाहिए ताकि हम अच्छे clinical trial conduct कर सके humans पर. If applicable, the effective and non-toxic dose findings in the same animal species should be compared. That is, the therapeutic index should be discussed. The relevance of this information to the proposed human dosing should be addressed whenever possible. Comparison should be made in terms of blood tissue levels rather than on an mg/kg basis. So how much of the drug bounded with the blood tissue level and how much was it, the unsync and sync condition, if you remember, you might have studied in the biopharmaceutics. Then non-clinical pharmacology. A summary of pharmacological aspects of the investigational product and where appropriate, its significance metabolite studied in animals should be included. Such a summary should incorporate studies that assesses potential therapeutic activity, example efficacy models, receptor bindings and specificity, as well as those that assesses safety, example special studies to assess pharmacological actions other than intended therapeutic effect. Right. So there's a drug known as minoxidil, which is administered in high BP also and is administered in hair treatment also. So that is what they're talking about here, that there should be some studies conducted if possible about the pharmacological actions other than that intended by the therapeutic effect, and you can explain them or assess them based on the efficacy model, receptor binding and specificity. So non-clinical pharmacology means obviously they are talking here about the therapeutic effect or whatever metabolites it's generating after showing its action. Then pharmacokinetic and product metabolism in animals. So a summary of pharmacokinetics and biological transformation and disposition of investigational product in all species should be given. Right. The discussion of the findings should address the absorption and local and systemic bioavailability of the investigational product and its metabolites and their relation to the pharmacological and toxicological findings in the animal species. If you're saying that the drug is 10% biologically, the bioavailability of the drug is 10%, or it is 90% protein bounded drug, all this should then again be related to the toxicological findings and pharmacological findings in the animal species. Then toxicology. What are the side effects, or a summary of toxicological effects found in relevant studies conducted in different animal species should be described under the following headings wherever appropriate.